The sixth stage. Now I saw the pilgrims continue on their ascent not far from there, for they determined it to be a possibility for pilgrims. This happened to be the place from which Christian had first caught sight of Faithful, his brother. It was here the pilgrims sat down, rested, ate, drank, and celebrated, because they had been delivered from this dangerous enemy. As they sat there eating, Christiana asked Greatheart whether or not he had been hurt in the battle. He said, "No, except a little on my flesh, but that's not so bad. For it is proof of my love for my master and you, and by grace it shall be a means to increase my reward at the end." "But weren't you afraid, good sir, when you saw him come at you with his club?" Christiana asked. Greatheart said, "It is my duty to not trust in my own ability, so that I may rely on him who is stronger than all." Christiana thought about that for a moment. "But what did you think when he brought you down to the ground with that first blow?" "Why, I thought that in this way my master was served, and it was he who conquered in the end, always carrying about in the body the dying of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our body. For we who live are constantly being delivered over to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our mortal flesh." 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 10 to 11. Matthew said, "While you all can think what you please, I think God has been wonderfully good to us. He brought us out of this valley and delivered us from the hand of this enemy. As far as I am concerned, I see no reason why we should ever distrust our God again, since he has given us such a testimony of his love now in such a place." Then the group of them got up and continued forward on their journey. Now, a little ahead of them stood an oak. When they came to it, they found an old pilgrim fast asleep under it. They recognized he was a pilgrim by his clothes, his staff, and the belt he wore around his waist. So the guide, Greatheart, woke the old gentleman. As the old man opened his eyes, he cried out, "What's the matter? Who are you, and what is your business here?" Greatheart tried to calm the man. "Calm down," he said. "Come on, we here are all friends." But the old man rushed to his feet and was on guard because he did not know them or what they were. Then the guide said, "My name is Greatheart. I am the guide of these pilgrims who are going to the celestial country." "My name is Mr. Honest," the old pilgrim said. "I ask your forgiveness for my reaction, for I feared you were part of the group who some time ago robbed Little Faith of his money. Now that I'm more awake and aware of my surroundings, I can see you are more honest people." Greatheart asked, "What do you think you could have done to help yourself, if we were in fact those people?" "What could I have done?" the man said. "Why, I would have fought to my last breath, and if I had, I am sure you could never have bested me. For a Christian can never be overcome unless he surrenders himself." "Well said, Father Honest," Greatheart said. "For by this I know you are a man of the right kind, for you have spoken the truth. And by this I also know that you know what true pilgrimage is," the old pilgrim said. "For everyone else thinks we are the quickest of any to overcome." "Well," Greatheart said, "now that we have happily met, please let me ask where you are from." I came from the town of Stupidity. It's the town just beyond the city of destruction. Oh, you're that countryman, Greatheart said. I've heard you called Old Honesty. The older gentleman blushed. Not honesty in the abstract, but honest is my name. I have to admit, I wish my nature agreed with my name, but, sir, how is it you have heard of me? I heard of you from my master, Greatheart said. He knows everything. But I have often marveled that anyone from your hometown became a pilgrim, for your town is worse than the city of destruction. Mr. Honest nodded. I agree. Those of us from Stupidity lie more often than the sun shines, and because of it, we are cold and senseless in heart. But even if a man were inside a mountain of ice, if the sun of righteousness arises upon him, his frozen heart will experience a thaw. And that is exactly what happened to me. I believe it, Father Honest. I believe it, for I know what you say is true. Then the old gentleman greeted all the pilgrims with a holy kiss of love, asked their names, and how they had fared since they set out on their pilgrimage. Christiana stepped forward first. I'm sure you have heard my name, for good Christian was my husband, and these 4 are his children. She motioned toward her boys. You won't believe how the old gentleman reacted to the news of who she was. He skipped, he smiled, and he blessed them with 1,000 good wishes. He said, I have heard so much about your husband and his travels and the wars which he endured in his days. Be assured, the name of your husband resounds all through these parts of the world. He is famous for his faith, his courage, his endurance, and his sincerity. Then he turned to the boys and asked their names, which they told him one by one. He greeted Matthew and said, Matthew, you are like Matthew the tax collector, not in wickedness, but in virtue. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting in the tax collector's booth, and he said to him, Follow me. And he got up and followed him. Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. He turned his attention to Samuel and said, He is like Samuel the prophet, a man of faith and prayer. Moses and Aaron were among his priests, and Samuel was among those who called on his name. They called upon the Lord, and he answered them. Psalm 99, verse 6. And to Joseph he said, You are like Joseph in Potiphar's house, pure, and one who flees from temptation. As she spoke to Joseph day after day, he did not listen to her to lie beside her or be with her. Now it happened one day that he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the household was there inside. She caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and went outside. Genesis chapter 39, verses 10 to 12. He turned to James, the last of the boys. You are like James the just, and like James the brother of our Lord. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 7.